Welcome to the Prophecy Club. Our topic today is New Golden Age of Massive Arrests. First of all, let me just say Happy Independence Day, Happy 4th of July. And something I want to say kind of on a personal note. I know you may be saying, wait a minute, Stan, you're even making a program for Independence Day, 4th of July. I mean, do you ever take off? You know, Bible prophecy is my love, and it's my call. It's not a burden, it's a blessing. And as a matter of fact, you guys are a blessing for listening to me because probably, I mean, here I am 71 and I don't have any plans to retire. I think if I get a little older, and hopefully I will probably still be making these programs. And frankly, I'm going to say something. I think, now I've been wrong for a long time, but I think that we are real close to getting the money to drill the well in Israel. I think some really, really, really big changes are on the way, and that's really the point that I'm making today. But first of all, on the happy note, happy Independence Day. I hope you have a wonderful 4th of July, and may America have many, many more of them. Okay, so let me give you some watch points. In other words, these are things I personally am watching for. I believe they're prophecies. So let me cover some of these because, again, I'm trying to give you a long view today, a bird's eye view, not a bug's eye view, of kind of where we are and what's coming. Are we about to see a suspension of the Constitution? I know I feel like I need to go wash my mouth out with soap saying that because I love the Constitution as much as you do. And I think it has been one of the greatest blessings that any nation has ever been given. I think God gave us our Constitution. But I also think that the protections that are in the Constitution are protections that the devil uses for his people and has allowed them to infiltrate up into the highest echelons of our nation. And the only way to clean out the barrel is to at least briefly remove the Constitution. I'm afraid to do that because then you're afraid, well, maybe we'll never get it back again. Next thing is, I think that there's a very, very good possibility martial law is on the horizon. I'm going to say this. I do not know that anything is going to happen 4th of July. I do not know specifically anything is going to happen in the month of July. But I see so many things coming. So many things that are on the cliff. And they're they're doing this, they're waving their arms, try to keep from falling off the cliff. There's so many things that could be happening. And I wish God would tell me more than I could tell you, but so frankly, there's a lot of guessing we got to do to try to put the pieces of the puzzle together. God gives us this prophecy, this little piece of the puzzle, but it's a 1,000-piece puzzle, and we're trying to put it all together. Also, I think that the new financial system is very, very close. And I don't have enough real evidence to bring you to prove that. It's just something I kind of just feel in my heart. And a few things that aren't credible enough that have happened that I think is very, very close. And we're going to talk about that. Also, I think that we're probably going to see the Fed Chair Powell terminated, Federal Reserve terminated, IRS terminated, which means no income tax. My opinion, that would be a very good thing to start rejoicing in the streets. Now, here are some things that if these things were true, we would begin to see some of these. If these things were true, I would think we'd start seeing things like an expansion of places to lock up the prisoners. If there's about to be a massive roundup, and I'm not talking about illegal aliens, I'm talking about bad guys in America, in high places. If that was going to happen, in other words, we're not talking about deporting people. We're talking about locking them up for the rest of their life, maybe even some kind of executions. I don't know. But I would expect to see an expansion of places to lock up prisoners. I don't think it's an accident that they have just, like yesterday, opened up what they call Alligator Alcatraz. I also don't think it's an accident that Trump, I'm going to show you the articles, is opening Alcatraz. Yeah, the one that closed in 1963. The Bureau of Prisons, I'm going to show you, is in the process of reopening it. Why? Because I think they got a bunch of people that they don't have room in the prisons to lock up. Also, I think the federal chair, Powell, is probably going to be terminated. So if he's terminated, that's huge. That's really big in the financial world. I also think we begin to see perhaps some new military zones on the borders, not to catch the people coming over from Mexico, but to catch the people. See, because when the light turns on and they hear about all their buddies being arrested, then like the cockroaches flee when the light turns on, there's going to be a bunch of people that are afraid they're on the roundup list, and they're probably right. They're going to start trying to flee the nation. They're going to be checking airports, not just the ones where you buy a ticket, but also the charter flights, and also all four corners, north, south, east, and west. And I would expect to see things like new military zones. I'm going to show you that's something new that I'm bringing you today. Also, I would expect to see military tanks and equipment pre-positioned for the takeover. Military National Guard activated. I would expect to see that. I would expect to see the Supreme Court has already pre-approved Trump's authority to use the military and the National Guard, as was happened from the June 14th. Now, let me show you the new stuff. Oh, here, one more thing. I would also expect to see protests in the street. Well, we've already seen that. That's already happened. So, in my opinion, if Trump were to call me, I doubt he will, I would say, yeah, not that my opinion counts, but I would say, yeah, I think you have the authority to sign the Insurrection Act of 1807. Also, why was it that Trump was pushing so hard to get his one big, beautiful bill passed and signed on July the 4th? Could it be that they had plans for July the 4th or shortly after for a massive arrest? Because once the bill is passed, he's got what he needs. He's got the money, he's got the manpower to do the things that this is the whole point. So could it be that all of these things that the prophets have warned us that are coming now perhaps are at the door? Let me show you some articles. I got some new information. Oh, okay, a couple more things to remind you. Remember, Dimitri is told fall of America starts with an internal revolution. Skipping down to the bottom, remember Terry Bennett was told that the military will step in to seize control of the federal government. Then Jack Rigney saw an armored battalion of tanks. What happened June 14th? There was an armored battalion of tanks rolling down the streets in Washington, D.C. Now, what if they're still there? Or what if they're maybe just outside the city and ready to roll in at a moment's notice? And he said he saw military take temporary control of the nation to arrest the evildoers. He said under certain circumstances, the military can step in, take control of the nation in order to put things back in order, and that's what I saw. And he says that's the way the Constitution would have it done. Could it be? Think about it. July the 4th, Independence Day. That'd be a pretty good day to start all this. And if they were to start hearing massive roundups were taking place, if they were to start hearing that, then could you see that there would be protests, rejoicing in the street? Not protests, some will protest. But, all right, let me get to the articles. Trump again calls on Fed Powell to resign immediately. He's saying the central bank leader should do so immediately. And he's calling him too late. He should resign immediately. Fed chair should be investigated by Congress. Okay, so To me, what that's saying is a new financial system. Next article. Trump again presses federal chair Powell to quit. Now, look at the headlines underneath it. Related stories. Trump wrote Powell urging lower rates. He wants interest rate cut to 1%, down from 4.5%, I believe it is. Jordan to look at call to probe Powell. So, I mean, he is putting unbelievable pressure. I think he'd like to see Powell quit, but I also think he's willing to fire him. And my understanding, and I'm not an expert on this, is that he can fire him. 2 or 3 choices for to replace Fed Powell's replacement. Fed warns more data before cut. Trump says work to begin on reopening original Alcatraz. Look, this is today, or the day before July 4th when you see this. He's not talking about it. He's doing it. He is opening the original Alcatraz. The article says President Trump announced on Tuesday that his administration is already working on reopening the original Alcatraz in California. He says he had that conceptual work started 6 months ago. What? 6 months ago, before he was even inaugurated, he was planning on reopening Alcatraz. Do you think that that's for illegal aliens? Because I don't. I think that's for illegal bankers and congressmen and senators and people in high places that are bad guys. Conceptual work started 6 months ago on reopening the notorious California prison closed in 1963. Various prison development firms are looking at doing it with us. They're already started. I don't think it's an accident. I can't say that the massive arrests are going to start on July the 4th or even in July. But if you look at what he's doing, it's getting close. Let's go on. The article goes on to say, Trump revealed he'd been inspired to reopen Alcatraz. He said, and what symbol is it, and what will that be? I think it's saying the very worst of the worst. I'm not going to name any names, but you know who I'm talking about. People at high places that have done a lot of damage to our nation. That would be fitting for them to be sent, at least my opinion, that would be fitting, or perhaps he would think that would be fitting to send him to the old ancient Alcatraz built in the 30s. That he was directing his government to reopen and expand Alcatraz to house America's most ruthless and violent offenders. The Rock once housed some of the nation's most notorious criminals, including Al Capone, Machine Gun Kelly. Now, let's go on. President Trump moves forward with a plan to turn Alcatraz back into a federal prison. Yeah, he's serious. He's moving forward with his plan to turn Alcatraz into a federal prison. Officials from the Federal Bureau of Prisons have visited the island last week. We've got engineering teams out there now doing assessments. And they say, I'm really excited to see the opportunity and possibilities. And they say, this is the Bureau of Prisons, say, we absolutely think we can get it done. They think they can reopen it. Now, Alcatraz is closed because it was too expensive to maintain. Well, maybe that it's a whole lot cheaper to open that one for some really, really bad people than it is to build a new one. I don't know. But you remember I made a whole program on this. This is what the left was saying. They believed that massive arrests were going to start April 20th. Now, they didn't start April 20th, or even May, or even June. What about July? Is it coming in July? Let's go back and visit a couple of things. I'm not going to read the whole article. A couple of things I think it's important. Okay, we're going to skip most of it. But they had a conspiracy saying, this is the theory, and I think they have a looking glass. I think they have a time machine. I think they can see into the future, and they know things that are coming, except they just can't stop them right now. Conspiracy theory is being pushed that the left claims that something really big is going to happen on April 20th. I think it's roundups. The article went on to say that would allow U.S. troops to help secure the border. Oh, no, it's not about securing the border where people are coming into the United States. It's securing the border from people leaving, running, the cockroaches running because the light's been turned on. Many leftists are convinced that President Trump will also use U.S. troops to round up political activists and send them to prisons like in El Salvador, and that may be. But would it be better to go to El Salvador or better to go to Alcatraz? I don't know. Neither one of them would be my choice. The article went on to say, he has officially invoked the Insurrection Act and it will set a larger plan in motion. This article says that if he does sign the Insurrection Act, all of a sudden everything starts happening. Would it be fitting for him to sign that on July the 4th? Well, wait a minute. There's got to be an insurrection for him to sign that. Wasn't that what was June 14th with 1,800 cities in the No King protests? Does he not already have that authority? Did he not already sign it on June 14th? We don't know. Expect an executive order, even the same of the next day, officially declaring the Insurrection Act, restricting freedoms in the name of restoring control to the border and perhaps in blue state cities. This is the left. This is what the left was saying. They say, here's what you should do. Resist. Well, that's the internal revolution. That there'll be a false flag crisis. I don't even think he needs a false flag. I think that he got that June 14th. Then he would declare, this is what they're saying. This is the left. This is what the left says. Declare martial law, militia to assist police, military, mass arrest of opposition leaders. Okay, this is the left saying that there would be massive arrests. The left is saying massive arrests. What do they do with them? Alligator Alcatraz, the original Alcatraz, and maybe El Salvador, or maybe some other places because they're going to arrest so many. Look, they got 500,000. That's 500,000 sealed indictments. One sealed indictment does not necessarily equal one person. It certainly does, but one might equal 10, 20, 30, 40, I don't know. It's not limited. Okay, on to the next one. Military National Guard take over major cities, total media control, as in the plan is, the scuttlebutt on the internet says, this here is that they have an 8-hour video showing video proof of all of the corruption that's been going on in high places, and they play that on a repeating basis 3 times a day, 24 hours a day for 10 days. At least that's what the internet says is the plan. Borders closed. Dissidents are trapped inside. I didn't say any of that. That's what the left says. He was planning for June 14th. Didn't happen June 14th. Is it going to happen sometime in July? Is it that what was Trump waiting on his big beautiful bill to get passed for him to start all this? I don't know, but I sure like to know. Let's go on. There's more. Okay. This is the thing about the Insurrection Act of 1807. This is telling you. But the point is, if Trump signs that, first of all, he has to have an insurrection. He's got that, June 14th. The left played right into his hands with all of the No King riots, with all of the ICE protests in Los Angeles. They played right into his hand. So all he has to do is sign the Insurrection Act, and now he can use the military against American citizens. Now, I've already covered this. It's way back in April 14th, but I want to update it. I'm going to read the whole thing. U.S. Army to control federal land along the U.S.-Mexico border. This is new. Okay, so what they've done, this article, you can pause and read it if you want to, but the article says that they've got a 60-foot wide, look at the top line, 60-foot wide federal buffer zone that ribbons along the border from New Mexico to California. Now, this is where it is. It's called the Roosevelt Reservation. Here's another way to look at it. What's that for? Oh, well, it's to catch people coming up from from Mexico into America. Or could it be catching the cockroaches running because the light got flipped on and they're trying to get out of being arrested, so they're fleeing down to Mexico? But there's an update to it. Let me finish reading this. Any migrants in the country illegally who are detained by military personnel, did you catch that? See, the military tribunals, these are not civil arrests. These are not arrests by ICE or by police or sheriffs. They're arrested by military. And then they don't take them to civil prisons. They don't try them in civil courts. They take them to military installations behind military bars, and they're tried in military tribunals with 3 judges, and the trials take place like that. And it's done. Any migrants in the country illegally who are detained by military personnel on those lands will be turned over to the local civilian law enforcement agencies. There are about 7,100 active duty troops, Marines, under federal control currently assigned to the border, about 4,600 National Guard troops under state control. Troops are prohibited from conducting civilian law enforcement on U.S. soil under the Posse Comitatus Act unless President Trump has signed the Insurrection Act of 1807. Then that gives him the authority to use the military to round up bad people, put them in military prisons, try them in military tribunals, and give them military justice, which frankly to me sounds like a pretty good thing. So he goes on to say military purpose doctrine only applies if the law enforcement aspect is incidental. Does this area have a military purpose, or has it nothing to do with enforcing customs and security at the border? My guess is it has nothing to do with catching Mexicans or other people coming up from the south. It has to do with catching the bad people trying to flee. Now, let me go on. There's some other things I want to show you here on this because it's really important. Pentagon has sent a Stryker brigade. I wasn't in the military, so I don't know what a brigade is, but it sounds pretty big and powerful to me. Stryker brigade, more troops to the U.S.-Mexico border. And this is back in March. Are they still there? 3,000 more active duty troops to the U.S.-Mexico. My guess is they're still there. Now, here's the new stuff, I promise you. If you look at the date, this is July the 2nd. Military zone established in Arizona on the military corps. They've added more troops, more of the military. So it was a 60-meter wide area. Now they've expanded that. It doesn't tell us, and I looked, I couldn't find any kind of a map. But it says this week, a 4th defensive zone along the U.S. border with Mexico. Yuma National Defense Area is now a 140-mile extension of the Marine Corps Air Station Marines. Did you catch that? It says similar defense areas already exist in Texas and Mexico and will continue to enhance the department's ability to protect the southern border from unlawful entry or exit. That's what they're there for. They're not to try to catch the people coming up from the south. They're there to catch the cockroaches because Trump turned on the light and they're running for their lives because they know they have their hand in the cookie jar. Trump calls for deporting some citizens to El Salvador. Now, if you look at the date on this is back on April 15th. But that's got to be part of the plan. He's got to have somebody look, if he's going to try to arrest 500,000 people, or maybe more, you got to have some place to put them. Remember this one? This is back on April 15th, too. Trump admin weighs deporting citizens to foreign prisons. Maybe it's not just El Salvador. So, what's he doing? This guy here is supposed to be very credible. If you'll read in the middle, military tribunals are coming. Those found guilty going to be, I don't even want to say the word. Well, yes, I do want to say it. And I do want to see it. But I better not say it. Okay, so you got to read it. Okay. This is the executive order. This is what started it all. December 20th, 2017, blocking the property, not just blocking it, confiscating it, of persons involved in serious human rights abuse or corruption. All of this is the executive order that gives him the authority to do this. And this is the 484,000 sealed indictments, but that now is up to about 500,000. And I've covered this before, but I want to remind you, 11/11/2019, Trump was getting off the helicopter. I think in light of all these things, this is what he said to the reporters. I think in light of all the things going on, you know what I mean by that, the fake news, the cummies of the world, all the bad things that went on, it's called a swamp. I caught them. I caught them all. Let's see what happens. Nobody else could have done that but me. I caught all of this corruption that's going on, and nobody else could have done it. Was he kidding? Well, maybe he was. But if he was kidding, he'd only said it once. But he didn't just say it once. 9/7/24. He says, all of this cheating, lying, thieving, hoaxing, plotting will come to an end. It's going to come to an end. And he says, we're going to cash out the corrupt political class. We're going to restore a republic. And we're going to drain the swamp. And we're going to do it once and for all. We're going to get it done. That's twice. Oh, here's another one. And he says, a massive fraud of this type of magnitude allows for the termination of all rules, regulations, and articles, even those found in the Constitution. What did that just say? What did that just say? That just says he's willing to suspend the Constitution, and that's probably what he'll have to do to take all of their rights and their freedoms away, to round up the bad guys and girls. Here's saying it again. This is the fourth time he's interviewed here. They're going to be held accountable. This is what he says. I'm running out of time. Here's another time. When we win, and we will, those people that cheated be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law, which include long-term sentences and depravity of justice does not happen again. So I've run out of time, but here's the question. Are we about to see massive arrests? Are we about to see a new financial system? Happy 4th of July. Happy Independence Day. If you don't want to lose your life's savings, if you have an IRA or a 401k, the thing to do is call 800-200-GOLD. 800-200-GOLD. These folks are Christians, and they specialize in helping people not lose their life savings in the event of a stock market crash and things like that. Look, most of the 401ks, most of the IRAs are in paper, backed by paper, and as Lindsey Williams says, if it's in paper, it's worth the paper it's written on. You can lose it all. 1-800-200-GOLD. 800-200-GOLD. Hey, give them a call. Doesn't hurt. Doesn't cost you anything. See if they can give you some good advice. Hello, I'm Stan.
And I'm Leslie Johnson.
And we want to invite you to the PhD, the Prophecy, Healing, and Deliverance Conference.
So I hope you'll come from September the 11th through the 14th.
We have 6 seasoned ministers, 10 sessions, 2.5 days. I'm going to be speaking on Mark of the Beast, dangers of AI, and the new timing of the rapture.
And I'll be speaking on how to get ahead spiritually, close those spiritual doors, and the role of the prophet.
Lou and Sunhee Deliverance Ministries are going to be speaking on healing childhood experiences, what is eating at you, spirit of infirmity, and yes, they will be doing deliverances.
Yes. And then Pastor Kate and Jonathan will be speaking on relationships.
It's limited to 100 registrations, so go to prophecyclub.com, get signed up, or
traintheprophets.com. We hope to see you there.